Evaluation question 2. How effective is the combination of your main tasks and auxiliary tasks? I think my magazine and poster, the auxiliary tasks, really work well together. They are very, very different colour schemes, and there's no eyes on the front to lure you into the poster, whereas there are on the magazine, which is a convention of the magazine. But I think that they work well together because they have that contrast in light and dark, and having someone lure you in and someone be mysterious. I think that contrast really draws the reader in. There's also the protagonist on both. David and Ethan are on the poster, and David is on the magazine, which leads you to think that David is the person who is really going to stand out in this. He's obviously at a different stage in his journey. On the poster he's quite clean shaven. He doesn't have much stubble anyway, but he is clean shaven. You know, his hair's fairly neat, and he looks a bit brooding and sort of ready for a challenge, whereas in the magazine he's beaten, he's bruised, he's sweating, his hair's a mess, his clothes are a mess, and he really doesn't look very fun to be hanging out with, really. He looks quite evil. So they sort of work together because they make the reader question, what's going on with this guy? You know, what's happened to this guy to make him change so much? And that might make them want to watch the poster or anything like that. It could really make them want to watch the trailer. So the magazine and the trailer, let's talk about that. You can see David's character in both, but again they're at different stages in the plot. So in the trailer, David's character is just sort of starting out. That we see of him. The voiceover is actually at the end of the film. So we get a little glimpse into, he's got someone for it, but we don't know who. It's alluded that it is Ethan's character, although that may not be the case, as we find out at the end.
So why would I trust someone like you?
I think that they actually work really well together, because if you see David's character in that sort of neat, really cool cop kind of persona, and then on the magazine see him looking really evil and bruised, you want to know what's happened, you want to know what's going on, and it will make you really want to see the film. Another point, the lighting. Now, the lighting in the trailer is quite low-key, it's quite dingy and dark, and we know that there's something not quite right. Whereas in the poster I've gone for the complete opposite of that, and the lighting and the colour scheme is actually really, really quite bright. I thought that this sort of linked to what the product was, because I mean in a trailer you have to really show the genre, whereas in a magazine it kind of needs to link to that particular magazine's codes and conventions. For example, if Empire had a common white border, they would always use that border or that colour scheme in every single film that they marketed. So I really wanted to use that and make it very different because of the product type. I also thought that it made it look really cold and clinical, so maybe this guy is in some sort of hospital, some sort of strange state of mind. It also has connotations of like innocence. So is David innocent? Is he really as innocent as he looks? Because it's quite tinged with the grey. So it sort of gives off all of those subliminal suggestions to the reader and makes us think, maybe David is the one at fault here, maybe David's the murderer. So again, that would make them want to look at the poster and see if they get any more clues on there, look at the film, watch the film, and find out who really is this bad guy. Let's look at the poster to the trailer. So the bonfire, we see more of an explanation as to how that comes into play. So if you look at the poster and you see the bonfire, you might think, oh, what's that about? You know, that's got to be a big part of the thing. And then when you watch the trailer, you see clips of the bonfire throughout. You get told that the kids were thrown into a bonfire, and you really learn a bit more about the backstory of that, and that can make you want to read the magazine or watch the film to find out what this bonfire is about and whether someone will find justice for the people who got thrown into it. There's also the two characters on the poster and the magazine, which we can leave the magazine alone at the moment. But the two characters on the front, they look quite shaded, they're quite opaque, you can't see them particularly well, and you kind of want to know more about them because we can see on the poster that we're not being told their full story. So if you watch the trailer then and see how that links, then you can really sort of delve into a bit more information about those two characters. For example, Ethan wears dark reds and blues and blacks, which sort of give you the feeling that his character may not be as good as we are being led to believe that he is. There's also the blood on the hands, which we get to question a little bit. We question his psychological state and things like that. We really get to know a bit more about the character. Again, the same with David. We get to know a bit more about him being a policeman. We get to know that he is the one in charge of the case, and we know that he is the person who fights for the justice for these children. And that could lead you to think that he's actually a good character, which could lead you to go and look at the magazine, in which you realise maybe he's not the good character that you thought he was. So it gives you something to question there. Let's have a think about the audience impact of each of these products. So the poster, what is the fire about? That's a question they'll be asking themselves. It really makes the audience question so much about the poster. So you'll look at the poster, you'll think, what is the fire about? Who is the figure? What's the story behind the people on the front? What's going on? What's the narrative? What's going to happen here? Which will make them want to know more about the characters and the fire and the narrative and stuff. So they might watch the trailer. And then from watching the trailer, they'll be asking why he was cutting his finger off, how did his friends die, they want to know when the film's out, they'll want to know whether the detective is going to find who murdered these children, and they'll really want to know about the people behind that. So after that, they might want to know even more about the characters and about the story. They might be hooked on it, they might be really excited now to see the film, and they're starting to get a bit, ooh, it's exciting, we're going to go and see this, it's going to be good. So they might read the magazine to get a little bit more information on the film when it's out, that sort of thing. So when they look at the magazine front cover, they might think, well, why is he now so bruised and battered? What's going on there? Is he good or is he bad? You know, is this character the good person we thought he was, or is there something dark about him? How did this behind the scenes link to the trailer and the film's narrative? So on the front cover, the main story is take a look behind the scenes of this year's most anticipated psychological horror, or something along those lines. And if you have a look behind the scenes, you'll get behind the scenes stills, and you really get to delve in and try and pick apart the narrative in the film and what's going to happen and what's going on and what each character is like, as well as a director's interview, which would usually be involved in a behind the scenes thing in a magazine, and you might want to see what the director's got to say. And after that, you might be even more excited, so you'll probably, hopefully, go and watch the film. And that is the audience impact that each of these products would have. It's also how well they work together. So in a little conclusion, the magazine and the poster work really well together because of their contrast and how much they are different but still have the same theme and the same film. And then the magazine and the trailer also work really, really well together. I think that we show a completely different side of David, and again it's about the whole contrast and bringing that together and making people wonder what's really going on. They maybe become unsure of their actual psychological state, thinking, oh, I thought he was a good guy, and then it's like, oh, maybe not. So again, it makes people question things. The same with the poster and the trailer really work well together as well, because we get a little glimpse at the narrative, and then people will want to know more and go and see the trailer, and they'll really be able to link it to that poster. Evaluation question 2. How effective is the combination of your main tasks and auxiliary tasks?